You chase it for years. You save, you hustle, and then one day it's on your wrist. You finally got your Grail. But here's the question that no one talks about. What happens next? Luxury is a journey until it feels like you hit the finish line. So, on today's video, we're going to be talking about the Grail high and why I actually think that in some scenarios it can hurt your watch collecting journey, and why you should pace it out even though it might be something that you can afford. Every collector's dream is to have that Grail. Maybe it's a 5711, maybe it's a snowflake, maybe it's a Grail you saw on your grandfather's wrist. And then you get it, and it's incredible for a while. But then something strange happens. You stop looking, you stop caring. You're full, but you're not fulfilled with your collection. And that's when the chase ends. I've seen it time and time again. Collectors grind for years, finally score their Grail, and suddenly the passion fades. Because sometimes the joy isn't about owning that Grail, it's about the chase. As many people know, just like a great partner, sometimes wanting to be with that person and that desire that you make up in your mind is better than actually being with that person. And I think that the same holds true for watch collecting. And when that chase ends, the question becomes, now what? I think when you are chasing a Grail, there is a trade-off. And it's really about letting go. I've seen Grails traded for a lot of reasons in the 5 years that I've been doing this. One collector will swap their Grail because he wants something else. Of course, that's the most common. Another will flip their Royal Oak or the Grand Seiko so that they can use the cash to travel or to buy a house, or they might trade down because they have kids and they want to have something that they can pass along to multiple children that they may have. These are all, of course, valid reasons to get rid of your Grail, but the question becomes, if you're so willing to do that, why chase that Grail in the first place? Because when that Grail no longer excites you, it just becomes a watch. And when a trade starts to make sense financially or emotionally, I think that's when you should let your Grail go. So I'll ask you this. If you already own your Grail, what would it take for you to part with it? Not just in a dollar value, but for meaning. Would you trade it for a new spark in that hobby? Would you trade it for a watch that you'd actually wear daily instead of a watch you kept as a safe clean because it was, in fact, your Grail? Or maybe you would trade it for a memory that you haven't made yet. I think, of course, these are all valid and wonderful reasons to do that, but I guess the argument to be made here is be patient when looking for that Grail and purchasing that Grail, because I think that if you buy that Grail too quickly, you may miss out on the spark of watch collecting. And of course, I am biased to have that opinion as a watch dealer, but I think that everyone should really figure out what their Grail is and what they're willing to not only give up to get that Grail when it comes to essentially, time and time you might have to give up for your family to work to afford that Grail. You might have to work a little bit more. You might have to make certain trades that you might not want to make. Um, and so, do I think the idea of the Grail is outdated? No, I think that it's important to always strive for something. But I also think that many collectors, especially modern day collectors, get caught up in this idea of the Grail, and then once they have that collection, they lose a lot of spark and they lose a lot of interest in the hobby. And I always hate to see that. And I don't just hate to see that as someone who sells watches, but as someone who does appreciate those pieces. And that was something that happened with me. I mean, even to a certain extent with the Patek 911. That was a beautiful piece that we had as part of our Grail. And I was really disappointed. You know, of course, once I got that piece, I felt as though there wasn't really many other Panerais that I would enjoy nearly as much. And I think to this day, personally, Panerai just hasn't had that same spark that 911 that I've showcased in that video earlier this week has. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And if I were to do it all over again, I would pace myself and not get that Grail within that first year. And I would make sure that, you know, I have sacrifices and I'm okay with making those sacrifices to get that Grail. And what I'm not willing to sacrifice to get that Grail. So, you know, that's time with, again, time with my family, my emotional well-being, my physical health from being overworked. Watches, of course, are a great hobby, but I think putting too much time in chasing something, whether it be, you know, a romantic partner or a Grail, is detrimental to your well-being. So again, it's just my thoughts. And if you really enjoyed this video, if this video hit a nerve, then you're not alone. I think collecting evolves, and we evolve with it. And I think it will be very interesting to see, you know, how the idea of a Grail evolves in time. In the comments, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear, you know, if you have your Grail, and then basically, if that Grail that you initially had and that idea of the Grail, has it changed for you in the years? Has your Grail changed? Has what you're striving for in this collection process, has that changed? Again, please subscribe for more stories like this and deep dives into collecting, trading, and finding joy beyond the flex of watches. And if you're sitting on that Grail, I would love to hear comments about, you know, basically what your Grail is and why you are deciding on that piece. Thanks so much. I'm here to help in any way that I can. Bye-bye now.